Do you ever wonder how toilets came into existence? It sounds simple, but behind that flush lies a wild story of ancient innovation, strange customs, and some downright bizarre inventions. From stone-seated bathrooms in Egypt to Roman toilets that doubled as social lounges. From medieval castle chutes dropping waste into moats to toilets that fed pigs in ancient China. It's a journey packed with genius, weirdness, and more than a few surprises. This isn't just a tale about plumbing. It's about how civilizations handled one of life's most basic needs, long before privacy, porcelain, or flushing even existed. Because every time you sit, flush, and forget, you're actually using something that took thousands of years to get right. Our story truly begins in the bustling settlements of the Indus Valley civilization, around 2500 BCE, in what is now northern India and Pakistan. At a time when many cultures were still figuring out basic shelter, the people of the Indus Valley were pioneering what could only be described as early urban planning marvels, complete with public baths, drainage systems, and yes, toilets. These weren't crude holes in the ground. Many homes had dedicated rooms specifically designed for relieving oneself, fitted with drain pipes made of baked brick or terracotta. These pipes channeled waste outside the home into a centralized sewage system, showcasing an astonishing level of coordination and foresight. All it took to flush was to pour water into the toilet, a familiar process by modern standards. Some of these multi-story buildings had vertical waste shafts that connected to horizontal drains below, and the waste was carried away to nearby rivers or canals. Utility holes and brick manholes were also part of the system, showing that even maintenance was thoughtfully planned. To control solid waste, wooden grates or mesh filters were used. It wasn't just functional, it was sustainable, structured, and well ahead of its time. But the true shock: this level of sanitation wouldn't be matched in many parts of the world for thousands of years. Next, we travel to ancient Egypt, a civilization famed for its pyramids and pharaohs, but less celebrated for its surprisingly clever sanitation practices. Though they didn't have the luxury of running water, the Egyptians were meticulous about hygiene. They placed a strong emphasis on water conservation long before it was trendy or necessary for climate reasons. Instead of flowing plumbing, Egyptians bathed by pouring water over their bodies, collecting the runoff in basins to be reused for agriculture. Toilets, particularly among the wealthier class, were a far cry from anything glamorous. They typically consisted of limestone or ceramic seats set atop jars filled with sand. When full, the container was removed and cleaned, often by a servant. And while the upper class enjoyed solid stone seating, the less affluent had to make do with wooden stools with holes cut in the center, placed over pits filled with sand. These makeshift setups were functional but uncomfortable. You could say it was the feline version of bathroom culture, a comparison made all the more fitting since both involved sand and someone else doing the cleanup. Even so, ancient Egypt's commitment to hygiene and reuse shows how closely daily life and environmental practicality were intertwined. Journeying east to ancient China, we land in the Han Dynasty around 200 BCE. Here, the concept of waste management took an unexpected turn, one that directly involved livestock. Chinese farmers ingeniously created toilets that weren't just for human use, but also part of a broader agricultural cycle. These toilets were connected directly to pig pens. Human waste would drop straight from the toilet into the pig's enclosure, where the pigs would consume it. Though unsettling by modern standards, this system had practical benefits. It fed the pigs and allowed the animal waste, now mixed with the remnants of human digestion, to be used as fertilizer for crops. It was an unbroken chain of utility, minimizing waste in every sense of the word. This rather raw version of sustainability not only shows the ingenuity of ancient farmers, but also reminds us that sanitation, food, and agriculture were once more connected than we might care to admit. Now we head to ancient Rome, where plumbing truly became a public spectacle. Roman engineering is legendary, and their approach to bathrooms is no exception. The Roman toilet wasn't just a utility, it was a communal event. Public latrines featured long stone or wooden benches, each with a series of openings. There were no privacy partitions, so people sat side by side, engaging in casual conversation as they went about their business. Some facilities even featured running water that flowed beneath the benches, helping to flush away waste through underground channels. Water from aqueducts was used to wash the latrines, and sponge-topped sticks served as communal toilet paper, sitting in buckets of salty water between uses. While the technology was impressive, it came with dangers. Rats often traveled the open sewer lines, and methane buildup sometimes caused explosions. Still, Roman bathrooms were a marvel of public infrastructure. They weren't always sanitary by today's standards, but they were undeniably advanced for their time. When Rome fell, so too did many of its sanitation achievements. During the medieval period, castles and towns adopted a more rudimentary, gravity-reliant approach to waste disposal. Enter the garderobe, a small room built into the outer wall of a castle with a vertical chute leading to a cesspit or, quite often, a moat. The waste simply dropped straight down, relying on gravity to take it as far away as possible. In some cases, this was literal defense. A moat filled with waste wasn't just a barrier. It was a biological weapon. There were no flushing mechanisms, no cleaning systems, just a stone bench with a hole and a very long drop. Some garderobes even doubled as wardrobe storage, under the belief that the strong smells kept moths away. Function over fragrance, apparently. Though crude, garderobes kept living quarters relatively cleaner, marking a step toward compartmentalizing sanitation within the home. Before indoor plumbing became a household standard, chamber pots ruled the roost. These humble vessels were an essential part of daily life from ancient times through the early 20th century. Made from materials like metal, ceramic, or even fine porcelain, they were discreetly stored under beds or inside cabinets and used for nighttime relief. But once full, the real challenge began. In cities without centralized sewage systems, it was common practice to empty chamber pots out of windows and into the street below. Residents would sometimes shout warnings like "Gardy-loo" to alert passers-by of incoming waste. Still, walking under a window in the early morning could be risky. Despite their unglamorous function, chamber pots were often adorned with colorful designs, floral patterns, and witty rhymes. Some even featured cheeky inscriptions like, "Use me well and keep me clean, and I'll not tell what I have seen." Over time, they became more refined, fitted into wooden commodes or disguised as part of a room's furniture. Even royalty and the upper class relied on them, with personal servants assigned to manage and clean these pots. They were a staple of domestic life and remained in use well into the modern era, particularly in areas without plumbing. In the late 16th century, a bold new concept flushed its way into history, thanks to Sir John Harrington. A courtier and godson to Queen Elizabeth I, Harrington designed and installed the first flushable toilet. His invention used an elevated tank that dumped water into a bowl when a chain was pulled, much like modern toilets. He detailed the invention in a satirical work titled The Metamorphosis of Ajax, which doubled as political commentary. While Queen Elizabeth was impressed and had one installed in her palace, the rest of the nation didn't take to the idea. Harrington's writings made the flush toilet controversial rather than celebrated, and the invention was shelved for nearly 2 centuries. It wasn't until the mid-1700s that the flush toilet finally took hold, thanks to the inventions of Scottish watchmaker Alexander Cumming and English inventor Joseph Bramah. Cumming patented the S-trap in 1775, a curved pipe that used standing water to block sewer gases from re-entering the home. Shortly after, Bramah improved the design with a valve mechanism that sealed water in the bowl more effectively. Together, their innovations made flush toilets more reliable, hygienic, and appealing to the public. Toilets began appearing in homes across Britain and Europe, and indoor plumbing became a symbol of progress and modernity. Contrary to popular belief, Thomas Crapper didn't invent the flush toilet, but he did market it better than anyone. As a master plumber in Victorian England, Crapper promoted sanitary plumbing through polished showrooms and elegant designs. He also improved key components, including the U-bend pipe, which replaced the older S-trap. It was more reliable and less prone to leaking. Crapper's company installed toilets in royal palaces, bringing prestige to his brand. And while his surname added some unintentional humor, it became forever linked with modern plumbing. In 1851, at London's Great Exhibition, George Jennings introduced the first public pay-per-use toilets. Visitors could relieve themselves for a penny, leading to the phrase "to spend a penny." These toilets were clean, efficient, and wildly popular. Jennings later proposed installing public restrooms across the city, but his ideas were initially dismissed. Only after his death did the government realize the value of public sanitation and began building facilities based on his vision, though not using his designs. As cities swelled and sanitation struggled to keep up, Henry Mole devised an alternative, the dry earth closet. Patented in 1873, his invention used dry earth or peat to neutralize waste without water. It found success in schools and hospitals, and even saw use in colonial India. Though effective, the dry toilet was eventually overshadowed by the convenience and appeal of the flushing variety. From the ancient ingenuity of the Indus Valley to the luxury of the modern bathroom, the evolution of toilets mirrors the progress of civilization itself. What began as a basic necessity has become an essential piece of infrastructure, a quiet marvel of human advancement. Next time you hear the flush, just remember, you're taking part in a story thousands of years in the making.